Hello, my name is Jeff Salzer, and I'm with the federal government, and I want to talk to...
No, I'm joking, guys. This is awesome. I also, aside from being a government employee that works for the Small Business Administration, I'm a small business owner, so I got some great tax advice. I got some great marketing advice. I've never seen marketing, which is what I used to do in a previous life, presented with the fishing analogy. I thought that was phenomenal. So great stuff. I can't thank Jill enough for inviting us out, and Lawrence for the hard work that's gone into this. They told me to do like a TED Talk today, and I usually am really dependent on my my PowerPoints. I've got like a really long deck that's really text intensive. I love it. It puts people to sleep every time. But I'll try and go a little bit quicker. So 5 things you didn't know about the SBA is what I want to do today. And it just so happens to be we have a new district director, and it used to be the SBA was built around the 4 C's, but he added a 5th C. So the 5 things you don't know are the 5 C's of the SBA. The U.S. Small Business Administration helps Americans start and grow small businesses by providing access to capital, to consulting services, through contracting programs, crisis assistance, and the 5th C is what we're doing today. It's about community, and community is about economic development and being out in the communities. So let's go to capital. I saw a couple bankers in here, right? I see some hands. We're interactive. One of them does SBA loans, right? So here's a kicker. Does the SBA loan money? No? Yes? No? Somebody? Anybody? No. Fantastic. There's a free pen on your table for answering that question properly. The SBA does not loan any money. What the SBA does is we guarantee money, or we guarantee loans. And for the bankers out there, is it attractive to you to have a loan that's guaranteed up to 90%? No, most of them aren't, but up to 90%. So what does that mean? Does that mean if I have a 500 credit score, I have no experience in the industry I'm talking about, I have no education, and I'm on parole, does that mean I can get a loan? No. I mean, you still have to have, you know, the 5 C's. There's a lot of C's going on today, but you've got to have the capital, and you've got to have the character and those things to qualify for a loan. But the way I talk about it is it can be a good option for you. Sometimes with an SBA loan, you can spread term out. So let's say, and I would recommend against building a new property for your facility if you don't need to, but let's say you're going to build a new building, a new manufacturing facility right here in Northwest City, or the Northwest Chamber area. You may be able to stretch your term out longer on an SBA guaranteed loan. So that can be a benefit because that means your payment's a little bit lower. Helps the banks out a little bit because it mitigates some of their risk. Different loan programs. Anybody here export? No? Tough crowd. You guys want to talk about the Affordable Care some more? No. Anybody here work in tourism? Does anybody here, has they ever sold anything that could potentially go overseas? There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. So up to 90% on our export finance program. I talk about tourism because apparently tourism is an export category. You can actually get a loan if you're exporting tourism. But let's say I manufacture tires, and those tires go onto a vehicle that the end product is exported. I can still qualify for SBA export financing. So phenomenal program. There's a bunch of different programs. Key thing is, give me a call if you've got questions about it. Consulting services. Anybody heard of the Small Business Development Centers? Right? SCORE? How about Women's Business Centers? Jennifer Edwards, they do a breakfast, which I'm not allowed to go to, apparently. But anyways, those are the 3 funded resource partners that we utilize. So we don't actually do retail, what I call retail consulting. If you come down to the SBA office, you go through all the security in the federal building, you come into the office, I'm going to sit down and talk to you just because you've gone through all that process. But what we do is we refer to our funded resource partners that we provide funding to. So SCORE, Service Corps of Retired Executives, is what it used to be. That used to be the acronym. It's no longer an acronym. It's just SCORE now. And the infinite wisdom, I guess, is because not everybody's retired. They've got some phenomenal folks that work in SCORE, and they volunteer their time, and then the SBA funds in part their infrastructure. But they can consult with existing businesses one-on-one. So what does that look like? You know, everybody thinks the startup, I need to go talk to somebody about a business plan. They can do that. But I've been in business 5 or 6 years, and I'm at a different point in my business, and maybe I need to talk with somebody specialized. I saw a couple folks over here in healthcare at some point. So the chairman of our SCORE chapter in Tulsa is the former CEO for Cancer Centers for America. Not 1 or 2, but all of them. So if you, again, for no cost, he'll sit down and talk to you about what you're doing with your business and how to help you get to where you're going as a consultant. I don't like to call them counselors because we're not having those type of crises, but as a consultant. We've got a great group of folks here in Oklahoma City. One of the gentlemen I love to work with, his name is Bob Steinert, retired executive from IBM. He taught at one of the first MBA programs in China, a phenomenal resource. And there's just a ton of folks. And again, there's no cost to you other than your generous donations on the 15th of April to the federal government. Small business development centers, they're in a period of flux, but it's a great organization. They're nationwide, but in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Small Business Development Centers is headquartered in Durant. Or is it Durant? I'm still kind of new to Oklahoma. I get it wrong sometimes. And then the Chickasaw, Chickasha. Anyways, but they're headquartered in Durant. But there's an office here in Oklahoma City, and they do great work. They'll do QuickBooks. Anybody use QuickBooks? Anybody like their staff to learn how to use QuickBooks? They'll do a class that's either free or very low cost on QuickBooks and a lot of other different consulting services. And they're out working in the community as well. So great resources for our consulting folks. Contracting. Who's the largest buyer of goods and services in the world? This guy. No, Uncle Sam. So Uncle Sam buys more than anybody else in the world, full stop. Whether that's right or wrong, and I'm on tape. How hard is it to fire a Fed? We're going to find out. But Uncle Sam buys more than anybody else in the world, including other foreign governments. Chances are they buy your services. Do they buy marketing services? Absolutely. Do they buy tax consulting services? Absolutely. Do they buy insurance? Yes. Do they buy catering services? I know of a couple catering companies that do business right now with Uncle Sam. Good contracts. Not the easiest to get into. There's a whole contracting arm that we work with. There are two programs in particular I want to talk to you about. One is called HubZone. HubZone is historically underutilized business zone. Sounds kind of difficult. Where I moved from in upstate New York, I could go on the map, drill down, and maybe in a 5-county area there might be half a block. But because of the Indian land in Oklahoma's, there are a ton of hub zones. Almost all of Canadian County is a hub zone. So what does that mean? I go through some paperwork. Yes, it's the government. Yes, there's paperwork. I go through the paperwork. I fill it out. If I'm bidding on a competitive project, there's a 10% price differential for a hub zone certified firm. 23% of all federal dollars have to be spent with small businesses, whether they be Hub Zone 8A, which is a program for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, women-owned, veteran-owned small businesses. 23% of all federal dollars have to, by law, be spent with small businesses. So there are some opportunities. Is it the opportunity for everybody? No. But if you'd like more information, you can always get a hold of me. One of our unfunded resource partners, the Oklahoma Bid Assistance Network, OBAN, also a lovely scotch. But OBAN, Judy Robbins-Warren over at Francis Tuttle on Rockwell is a phenomenal resource and can sit down and walk you through all the ins and outs in contracting. Crisis. And I got 5 minutes left. I am in a crisis. So let's say, God forbid, there's a flood and it wipes out your business. There are low-interest loans available to help you stay in business. Because the studies show if you've been out of business for more than about 3 or 4 days, in 52 weeks, you're going to be out of business, period. Let's say that the flood doesn't affect your business, but affects your customer base. There are low-interest loans available to help you that. Believe it or not, when there is a crisis, they went down to Plaza Mayor, the old Crossroads Mall. FEMA was down there, the SBA, they send different folks in, and they actually will help with homeowners as well if there's a federally declared disaster area. And finally, the 5th C is about community. And it's how can we work together to create value. I don't just talk about this stuff. I can talk about anything you'd like me to talk about. Trust me, ask my wife. I talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. But one of the popular things I'll do is I'll go out and give a seminar on crowdfunding. Does the SBA endorse crowdfunding? No. But is crowdfunding an innovative way for small startup businesses to find capital who can't traditionally get money from a bank? Because, I mean, let's call it what it is. With a startup, banks will give you as much money as you need as long as you don't need it. Banks loan against secured assets, right? As a startup, you probably don't have a ton of secured assets. So let's look at innovative ways to get you from here to where you want to be. That's what my goal is when I get up every morning. How can I help Oklahomans start and grow their small business? If you have one of your handy-dandy lure or promo pens, again, my name is Jeff Salzer, S-A-L-Z-E-R. The phone that rings to my desk is 405-609-8021, and my email address is Jeffrey, Jeffrey, .Salzer, S-A-L-Z-E-R, at SBA.gov. And thank you so much for having us out today. And again, thanks, Jill, for inviting us. I appreciate it.